The world is trying to move past COVID-19. Many people in the U.S. are there already with large maskless gatherings, pretty much the norm at this point. Pfizer, of course, one of the companies that helped us get here. It is still relying on COVID for a lot of its revenue, but its CEO has his eye on what will drive the next phase of growth. And that CEO, of course, is Albert Bourla. He is joining me now. It's great to see you again. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me here.
You know, as I said, we are trying to move, of course, past COVID, but it's not quite done with us yet. You yourself had COVID a couple of times, I believe, in the August timeframe. And I wonder if we're ever going to get to the point where vaccines can actually prevent COVID and its variants entirely. Is that the end goal? Is it a realistic goal?
First of all, I had COVID once in August and one in October.
Okay.
And the second time was in the UK. I think that the goal is to bring vaccines that they can last a year. I think that will simplify things because I believe that people will not be that diligent to do the vaccinations as they are tired of making too many vaccines, and they want stability. But if we have a yearly vaccine, which is something that people are used, like flu, for example, this is something that will take a significant amount of people to be able to get it. And yes, I think with the right vaccines, we can prevent from infections to hospitalizations to deaths and severe diseases. But of course, the vaccine has shown that death and hospitalization, the prevention is very high. When it comes to infections, the bar is a little bit lower.
So it's more comparable to a flu than, say, a polio, for example, something that you're just trying to eradicate.
Oh, unfortunately, this virus is very nasty and makes a lot of variations and insists. So I think, although nobody knows, most scientists are in agreement that for the years to come, the virus will be around us. But we are lucky because we have a vaccine that can adapt. As much as the virus stops, the new technologies allow us, the vaccines, to very quickly follow and have a vaccine that is very effective against the current virus.
And indeed, you all have just introduced a booster that is targeted at one variant of that virus, Omicron specifically. Do you envision it where everyone ideally will get a booster every year? Or will it just be, recommended for certain portions of the population?
I think the health authorities will make those recommendations while they see what is the severity of the strains that are available. But in any case, I do not expect that people will comply with these recommendations as they did maybe in the first months of the pandemic that people were really scared. So complacency will be getting in the way. So I see that the volumes of people that they will be getting the vaccine will be less.
And that's what we've seen already, right? Uptake of boosters has been pretty low. I saw one figure recently, 1 in 10 eligible people are getting them. You all have sold a number of boosters already to the U.S. government, so that demand taken care of. You're forecasting $32 billion in vaccine sales for this year, $22 billion for Paxlovid, which is to treat it. What kind of visibility do you have beyond this year in terms of those sales?
I have kind of visibility. I know orders that already have been signed, and I can calculate the demand. But 23 is going to be a year that likely will transition to many markets from governmental purchases to competition in the marketplace, which means that vaccines and treatments going through the normal challenge. I anticipate that will happen in the US in 23. Now, as with all our products, we will provide guidance to the best of our knowledge about how much we expect next year to make when we give guidance for 2023.
Now, I saw an estimate today the prices are going to go up as it goes more towards a normal type of marketplace. So. I saw an estimate from a company called Airfinity that the average price per dose is going to go to $37 next year from $18 last year. Does that seem in line with what you all are planning?
I don't want to speak about price, but right now, in our contract with the US, the average price was 30, and that was divided between some that were less, some doses, multi-vials, and then all the way to 50 in the single vials, and likely in the launch we will have all the way to 50. The vaccines will be priced based on their cost effectiveness, and the cost effectiveness is multiple of what it is right now, the price when we give to the governments in the pandemic.
You, of course, came out with the vaccine in partnership with BioNTech, which is the German company, and you've split the revenue with them. How long does that partnership last? Will it last even as we get to different stages of the pandemic? Is it an indefinite partnership?
Absolutely. It's an indefinite partnership in COVID. And we are both focusing on bringing new science into building new, most effective vaccines. Apparently, the one most important element is what we discussed before, a vaccine that will last a year. And of course, combination with flu is another very important.
Right. I wanted to ask you about that. You just started phase 3 trials, right, of the combination COVID flu vaccine. I think that was in mid-September that
What
started.
we started, it is a combination study of a flu RNA vaccine.
Right.
And we are about to start a combo as well.
And what kind of timeline then do you look for that, for those
I think the flu vaccine, likely based on events, because it's an event-driven study, if there is a lot of flu, will come into fruition sometime next year. We don't do immunobridging for that one. We are very confident that the vaccine will have real efficacy. So we went directly to study the efficacy of the vaccine. For regulatory purposes, you are required only to do immuno studies. So that will take their time. And then the combination, if you have already an approved COVID-19 and you have already submitted, about to be approved flu, the combination is very easy.
Now, you mentioned more international expansion as well and different ways of marketing the vaccine. You have a partnership in South Africa with the semi-national company there, which is starting production of the vaccine now. But it sounds like that they may not actually bring it to market until next year. What can you tell us about where they are with that and whether that is sort of a model for other partnerships we might see around the globe with Pfizer?
First of all, this partner is a very trusted partner of us in South Africa. And we did this project because there was a lot of requests to feel good, better, the African countries that was in their continent production. But unfortunately, few months after the first months, we had enough vaccines for all that were produced, but those countries did very small number of vaccinations. It was not the availability of the vaccine, but it was many other reasons, infrastructure of them to be able to administer it, hesitancy from people. And I think this is the issue that we need all to address, to make sure that those people will believe and they have a system that it's easily can vaccinate.
Yes, that's been an issue, obviously, everywhere, not just there, of course. What can we look for next from the messenger RNA platform? Because there's been a lot of talk about that this is just the beginning. It's been worked on for years. COVID was sort of the big breakthrough event, for better and for worse, mostly for worse for the globe. But what now? There's talk about cancer vaccines, it's used for other applications. So where is Pfizer on that front?
I would say there are two horizons. One, it is applications, and the other is the technology itself. There's a lot of work that's happening to improve the technology. Now it's modified RNA, could be self-amplifying RNA, could be circular RNA. There are a lot of work happening right now that you can have, let's say, way better, even RNA vaccines. The other thing, it is what applications. And I think the easiest hanging fruit, the lowest hanging fruit will be other vaccines. So there is a lot of work right now that is happening. And we will know, I think, late this year, next year, if those work. A second horizon will be in cancer. There is a lot of work that is happening right now. And then the third horizon, I think it is in gene editing. Gene editing is a very exciting technology that for people that they have a mistake from birth on their DNA, and that causes a significant disease to them, you can go and correct this mistake. And for those people, it's really salvation. So I think we will see very exciting things from this technology.
And are you planning to do much of that work internally at Pfizer? There have been some questions on the part of analysts about whether how much progress you could make without a partner, as in BioNTech in the case of the COVID vaccine. So talk to me about how that's working within Pfizer.
No, there are issues with intellectual property, who has the technologies and the platforms, and there are issues with the combined work of two companies producing more. I think with BioNTech, we have a lot of collaborations. For example, we are about to enter in a zoster vaccine that, again, is happening with them. And we are working to expand even further. So there will be a lot of things that we are doing together with BioNTech. But they are doing a lot of things alone, and we are doing a lot of things alone. We are not shy from collaborations. Actually, we believe collaboration is a better way to bring science to the world today. For example, in gene editing, we are partnered with another biotech company that they have appropriate technology, and we have all the expertise and scale to be able to produce solutions faster.
Now, Albert, going into the pandemic, before the pandemic even began, there were a lot of questions about Pfizer facing patent cliff, et cetera, et cetera. Then the pandemic happened. You had recently come into the company and were trying to change it culturally and the way that Pfizer did business. The pandemic sort of did that, and you did that in concert. So where are you now in terms of that question of what is next for Pfizer? What's going to be the next source of revenue as you are going to see patents roll off for various products?
I think the pandemic, from that aspect, in all the bad things that brought to the world, brought us something very important that gave to the Pfizer organization a belief that nothing is impossible. A belief in the culture that if we set our mind to a goal, even if it is very big, we will make it. That's a big competitive advantage, I think, for the culture of this organization. Now, going forward, as you said, we are starting losing patents of some of our existing products in year 26, 27, 28, 29. So, and there is a lot of discussion on how are we going to bridge that gap. So from 25 to 30, depends which is the analyst that you read, could be from 17 to 20 billions of losses. We are having 25 billions that we are bringing through business development. COVID was nice in terms of revenue creation, like COVID vaccines, but we are investing all of that. And we are investing in science that could bring products in 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. We committed to bring 25 billions of risk-adjusted revenues by 2030, and we are already exceeded the 10. Now, our internal pipeline, it is what I think it is the biggest competitive advantage. And the business development will provide growth over the loss of exclusivity. We are losing 20, we are gaining 25, so it's a small growth, but the pipeline will be on top of it. Only next year, we are expecting to launch more than 10 products. Some we are expecting to see the results right now. That's why I don't give a specific number. 5 new vaccines, 2 oncology medicines, 2 immunoinflammation medicines. All of that next year. And 24, another round of new innovative vaccines.
And just by way of comparison, you said more than 10. What's a typical number of launches per year?
1 or 2.
Right, so so you guys are busy.
Very busy. I think next year for Pfizer, it is a pivotal year. It is the year that we can prove to the world and we can prove to us that we can do multiple launches. I believe in the strength of our commercial organization and in the strength of our manufacturing organization, because it's very difficult for any company to pull together 10 new medicines manufacturing-wise and sales force-wise.
And those, of course, are already in the pipeline at the company. That's not even to speak of acquisitions. You've made a couple of acquisitions this year, most notably Biohaven, which just closed recently, Global Blood Therapeutics, which was just announced. You have a lot of cash to make more. Are you going to be making a lot more acquisitions? And I think we've talked about this in the past, maybe not as large as legacy Pfizer, but maybe these sorts of mid-size acquisitions. Is that the path you see going forward?
I think so. This is what we have told our shareholders, and this is what we believe, that it is the best value creation. We want to acquire science at early stages that we can add value to it by bringing our manufacturing capabilities, our clinical development capabilities, all of these things that we demonstrated during the COVID period that we are able to do it, so that we can do way more with these medicines in our hands than if it was in the originator hands. We promised, or we set a goal, that we will make 25 billions of risk-adjusted revenues. We will acquire 25 billions of risk-adjusted revenues. I feel very confident with what I see that there is enough substrate to do even more than that at prices and value that requires a discipline. We're not going just to buy things. We're going to be very disciplined with our acquisition. You mentioned some of them that are extremely well received by the market, the Biohaven, the Arena, and we will continue doing that.
Albert, good to see you. Thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.